the speed at which you transform from heavy drinker to alcoholism is quite remarkable. Because when you cross over from heavy drinker to being a full-blown addict, addicted to alcohol, it's extremely dangerous. And a lot of people will die then, because they can't get off it. It happens so quickly when I look back that I was drinking heavily, I had terrible hangovers and all this sort of thing. And then I started to slip into withdrawal. Now, a hangover is, a bit of a foggy, cloudy head, feeling a bit rough, red eyes, usual thing. Not feeling particularly well, not being hungry, dry mouth, whatnot. But when you cross over into withdrawal, you just get the anxiety, you get the fears, you get the shakes, you get the coughing up bile and all this sort of thing. It didn't take long. So when I was in the police, I was a very heavy drinker. And after I retired, I became dependent. There's a big difference between heavy drinking and dependency. Heavy drinking you can cut down a bit. When you're dependent, you can't just stop. Because I tried that and that's seizures. But it creeps up really quickly. And what you've got to watch for, in my view, is when you start reaching for the bottle during the day. Because if you start reaching for the bottle during the day and you have a drink at 8 o'clock in the morning because you feel so rough and you can't cope, then you're going to spend the rest of the day and nights drinking. And so it gathers pace. And I think when you cross over from heavy alcohol use to addiction, it can be a matter of weeks and months. It doesn't take long at all. In the grand scheme of things, it doesn't take long to really, really go downhill. And when I self-medicated in 2014 to 2019, that's a 5-year period, I was ill for most of that 5 years, So I had 8 years off and I was keeping fit and all that sort of thing. And then I suddenly went back on it again, not meaning to go about it. It was an emotional contact or connection I had with somebody, and I started drinking. I didn't want to tell her I was an alcoholic. I slipped back into it, you see. And within a few weeks of that, I was drinking from 8 o'clock in the morning. Again. So when you start drinking 8 o'clock in the morning, what are you going to do all day? You try and stop and have something to eat, but even if you do that, you don't really feel hungry. You've had a drink, you see. Already your brain's a bit addled by it all. You don't feel that well. Now, I'll just recount one single day I remember when I knew I was really crossed over from heavy drinking to addict. We were in Germany and I felt really rough, so I sneaked a couple of beers in the camp shop, and I thought, well, that'll set me right for the day. I had to stay in the morning, and she suggested going for a bike ride. I couldn't get on the bike, but I made this excuse: I need to go to the shop, get some bread and milk for tomorrow and all that. And I popped into the bar and had 2 very quick pints of some strong lager in Germany, and that put me right. I managed to get on this bike. So we cycled this little town, lovely place it was. I can't remember what part of Germany it was, but anyway, beautiful blue lakes and all around there, very scenic. And she wanted to go to these shops, and all I said was, no, let's have a quick drink, let's have something to eat. We used to say, let's have something to eat, because I knew I'd get a drink at a cafe, a restaurant, that sort of thing. Then I'd have a couple more, and a couple more. And I was struggling all day to try and find drink until the night time. Because it's acceptable to drink at night, isn't it? Apparently. But I was trying to drink all the time. To try and cover that and to try and work that out when you're trying to have a normal life is impossible. And then you get the strain of all that, then you get the anxiety coming in. So when you cross over the addiction point, you can't control it. And you will feel as if you're going to lose your mind. Especially when you start shaking, you haven't anything to eat. You're feeling rough. And people will question you. What's wrong with you? Why don't you want to go for a walk? Why don't you want to go for a bike ride? Why don't you want to drive the car? Why don't you want to go here, there, and everywhere? Why don't you want to go to the DIY shop? Because you fucking can't. You don't want to go to the cinema? Well, no one unless you can drink. That's what you want to tell people. So you choose events where you can drink, don't you? You don't want to do normal things like, wallpaper the bedroom or cut the grass, because all that's on your mind is drinking, especially if you had a couple in the morning. As soon as you have that first one that's you set for the day, it doesn't matter what time it is in the morning or during the day, as soon as you have that first one, you can't stop. And the earlier you start, the more you're going to drink. The more you're going to drink, the more you're going to feel rough the next day, and so on and so on and so on. It's a snowball effect. It's a very dangerous time. That's how I slipped into it. I didn't realise I was going from hangover with anxiety to addiction. And it can be difficult to pinpoint, but as soon as you reach for the bottle in the morning, or as soon as you start what I would call top-up drinking, when you're drinking earlier and earlier, and then you're drinking all day, then you're pretty much knackered. And you have to get some help then. And I just put it off. I thought, well, I'll just get on with that. I was retired by then. I'll just keep going. Hopefully something will happen. I'll get off it. The next day will be better. The next day is always slightly worse. And even then I'll try to cut down a bit. I'll start up again. This is the problem, you see, and go back to relapse and stop for a couple of weeks with some pills. And I couldn't get the pills, the diazepam, couldn't get them, and I was completely stuck. And I was just self-medicating. So if you feel yourself slipping from this hangover stage, which is what I said, feeling a bit rough and cloudy brain, brain fog, to the addiction stage where you can't really function. I don't believe this statement, functional alcoholic. I didn't function at 10%, I mean 90%. I did the bare minimum with life, to be fair. And in the end, I couldn't even do the bare minimum. I functioned about 2%. Just managing to get out of bed sometimes at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and drinking, and then a can of beer by my bed. So you can very quickly go from being a heavy drinker to being an alcoholic. And a lot of people I speak to are heavy drinking, they're alcoholics, I just want to admit it. And you can't be in denial forever, because you're only kidding yourself. And that's why so many people are dying of it, because they don't want to admit it. There's still a stigma to alcoholism, You've got to admit it to yourself. You've got to be strong for yourself. You've got to look after yourself. And if I wish I'd cut down earlier, everyone says that, I don't know, I wish I'd stopped this earlier, I wish I'd stopped smoking earlier, I wish I'd met this person earlier. The time is now. If you feel that you're drinking too much, the time is now to get some help. The time is now to go into the doctor, to contact people like myself who are alcoholics in recovery, because we know how you feel. I know exactly how you feel. And I know that most alcoholics are sensitive people. They're quite shy in some circumstances, because often you start young because you've got social anxiety. And the younger you start drinking, the more likely you are to end up as an alcoholic, or what they call it, alcohol use disorder. Now, to me, it's an alcoholic. I'll just use that older phrase, old-fashioned phrase now, isn't it? And I will always be an alcoholic. I could always be tempted back, but I won't, because I know I'm going to die. I've had really, really terrible shocks with it all, and intervention at hospital, and 2 years in and out of hospital, being in a wheelchair, intensive care, the whole lot, being resus, nearly bled to death, and umbilical hernia, lots and lots of issues with it. So I'm not going to go back. But a lot of people will get, a lot of you will get to the point where you feel confident. I've been off for a year, I'll reward myself with a drink. Don't do it, because that first drink could kill you in the end. So you've got to look at this. The speed at which you go from heavy drinking to a full-blown addict is incredibly quick in the grand scheme of things. It doesn't happen overnight, but it happens over I think it happens over a few months for me. And circumstances dictate as well, especially if you retire early and you have a little bit of cash, you've got nothing to worry about. I know friends who've gone to Spain and Greece and retired there, and they didn't last long, because they hit the booze. Nice sunny weather, cheap booze, got a bit of pension coming in, don't have to worry, got no responsibility. They go to the bar at 10 o'clock in the morning, they get used to it, and then before you know it, they're in full-blown addiction. And then often they pass away very young. As I said before, if you are alcohol dependent, you probably live, live a lot less than the average population. You die 20, 25 years before your time, really. And it's a scary thought, isn't it? If you want some help with this, I'll put a link in the description. And on most nights I'm doing these live things now. I've only done it for a week, but it's really, really popular. Having a chat with people who are like-minded, non-judgmental, of course. You come on there, have a bit of chat, ask a question. I've got a lot of questions coming in. I'll cover a lot of subjects. You can talk about alcoholism forever. It kills too many people, and it's a dangerous substance, and it's legal, There's so many different facets to it. I'll leave you for now. I've got an ebook out as well. And remember that if you're heavy drinking, watch out for the signs of slipping into withdrawal rather than hangover. There's a massive difference. And it's subtle to start with. So you've got to be aware. Speak soon.